Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy positive after call with US President Trump on security guarantees. Says will travel to Washington on Monday. Trump-Putin hold historic talks in Alaska. Trump rules out ceasefire and says direct peace agreement would end the war. Putin terms talks constructive, proposes Moscow as venue for next meeting. Rescue and relief operations on a war footing in Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar. Death toll rises to 16. Cloudburst tragedy. Chief Minister reaches Kishtwar, says PM Modi assured all support. Devotion and celebrations mark Janmashtami festivities across the nation. Day celebrates the birth of Lord Krishna, the 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. US President Donald Trump held a lengthy phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and also spoke to NATO leaders following his Friday summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The US President also called EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European leaders and briefed them on his Alaska meeting. Following the call, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy emphasized Ukraine's continued commitment to working towards achieving peace. Zelenskyy added, President Trump shared details of his meeting with Russian leader, outlining the key points of their discussion. Zelenskyy welcomed President Trump's proposal to hold a trilateral meeting involving Ukraine, the United States and Russia. Further, Zelenskyy informed that he will meet with President Trump in Washington, D.C. on Monday to discuss ways to end the conflict. He added that it was essential that European partners are involved at every stage to ensure strong and reliable security guarantees alongside the United States, adding that the leaders discussed positive signals from the American side regarding participation in guaranteeing Ukraine's security. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stressed on EU's commitment to reaching just and lasting peace in Ukraine, working closely with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and the US. Further, she emphasized on the need for strong security guarantees that protect Ukrainian and European security interests, welcoming Trump's statement on providing security guarantees to Ukraine. In a joint statement, EU leaders added that there should be no limitations on Ukraine's armed forces and it should be free to cooperate with third countries, adding that Russia should not have a veto against Ukraine's pathway to EU and NATO. A rare meeting, a charged atmosphere, and the world's eyes fixed on Alaska. For the first time in years, US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin sat down for nearly 3 hours, seeking to end Europe's deadliest conflict in generations. Here's more in the report.
Behind closed doors in Anchorage, the much-anticipated Alaska talks brought US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin face-to-face for the first time in 6 years. Nearly 3 hours of high-stakes diplomacy unfolded, aimed squarely at ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Both leaders hailed the summit as constructive and very productive.
Our negotiations took place in a constructive and mutually respectful atmosphere. They were very thorough and fruitful.
I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway.
Russia's Putin, stepping onto US soil for the first time in a decade, expressed hope that the agreements reached could serve as a launchpad towards peace, urging Ukraine and its European allies not to create obstacles to reconciliation.
I would like to hope that the understanding we have reached will allow to get closer to that goal and pave the way for peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kyiv and European capitals will perceive all this in a constructive manner and will not create any obstacles, will not make attempts to disrupt the emerging progress through provocation or behind-the-scenes intrigues.
President Trump echoed the tone of cautious optimism, praising wide areas of agreement with Moscow. Yet he admitted that no final deal had been struck to end the conflict, describing the talks as productive but unfinished.
But we had an extremely productive meeting and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. But we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
In a symbolic gesture, Putin extended an invitation for Trump to visit Moscow, extending the apparent invitation for their high-stakes summit in Alaska focused on resolving the conflict.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you.
A handshake in Alaska may have opened a narrow window to peace, but with no ceasefire in sight, the stakes remain dangerously high. For now, the world waits for words to turn into action. Bureau Report, DD India.
On the meeting between Russia's President Putin and US President Trump in Alaska, RT correspondent Igor Piskunov sent a special report. Let's take a listen.
I think it's fair to say that this was quite an interesting and unexpected culmination of this historic meeting, the first one in years between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump here in Alaska, in Anchorage, at a US military base. Vladimir Putin, by the way, today became the first Russian leader to set foot on Alaskan soil, and I think that was among the issues, the factors which created this positive atmosphere of companionship. The way Vladimir Putin was greeted here with fighter jets accompanying his aircraft, then both presidents simultaneously exiting their planes and then walking towards one another, shaking hands, having a small conversation without anybody, without translators or aides. Then suddenly Donald Trump asking Vladimir Putin to get into his car and driving him off to the start of the official meeting. All of these little points give us hope that Russia and the United States will be able to start really moving forward and fixing this complicated relationship, which reached one of its lowest points during the previous US administration. Vladimir Putin started his statement during that final media conference by calling Donald Trump his neighbor. Donald Trump said that Vladimir Putin is among the most experienced politicians, and the two have a working relationship. And I think it's true. I wouldn't call this a friendship, but it's definitely a working companionship. And this is what we've seen here today. The Russian president, unexpectedly at the end of his statement, suddenly invited Donald Trump to come and visit Moscow. The US president had quite an interesting reaction to that. He said he's probably going to receive some heat, but he's definitely going to think about it. And I think it's also very important to add that besides Ukraine, the two sides discussed quite a lot of other joint potential projects in business, culture, and in general. They are talking about rebuilding this relationship, and perhaps what we've seen today here in Anchorage is the first real step towards that.
Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov on Saturday said that a potential three-way summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin, US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has not been discussed yet. Ushakov also added that the timing for potential follow-up meeting between Putin and Trump remains uncertain. US President Donald Trump has ruled out immediate ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine after his summit with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Alaska and said a direct peace agreement would end the war. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, and I quote, "It was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement which would end the war and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up." Later, the US president, in an interview to Fox News, said the onus was now on Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to build on the Alaska summit between the US leader and Russia's President Vladimir Putin and secure a deal to end Russia-Ukraine conflict.
And we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points we're agreed on, but there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelenskyy to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit.
India has welcomed the summit meeting in Alaska between US President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin of Russia. In a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said that their leadership in the pursuit of peace is highly commendable, adding that India appreciates the progress made in the summit. The way forward can only be through dialogue and diplomacy. The world wants to see an early end to the conflict in Ukraine. All right, DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh is joining us live on the story, and I also have Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, who is former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, joining us on the broadcast. Both of you gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the broadcast. First to you, Shubhendu, very quickly. The red carpet welcome, the handshakes, it was certainly looking like Donald Trump has backtracked on his earlier statement. What are the points? Do we have any information on what exactly are the points discussed in the meeting? Because the Ukraine conflict was certainly not.
Well, Siddharth, but to be honest, the Ukraine conflict was at the heart of this discussion. What did not happen were certain expected outcomes vis-a-vis a possible ceasefire or some movement towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict. Either of the things haven't worked out. There is no deal, clearly, as President Donald Trump has said. So the ball really remains where it is. But optics are important. You mentioned red carpet. Whether it's red carpet, whether it's asking President Putin to join him in his car to the summit, also letting President Putin, Russian president, who's the visiting president, speak ahead of President Trump. Usually the tradition is that the host president speaks, addresses the media, and then the visiting president joins in. So there are a lot of interesting courtesies that have been extended to President Putin. And in the past few months of Donald Trump's second tenure, we haven't seen this kind of a welcome for any of his Western allies as such. So that really puts into a question as to what was going on here. This appears to be a great opportunity for thawing the relations between US and Russia. President Putin did mention that, referring to the previous administration, American administration, that Russia-US ties are at the rock bottom, but he referred to it. Then he sort of invoked how President Trump, if he was there earlier, this war wouldn't have happened. Interestingly, the location, Alaska, Anchorage, before the meeting, all the references were about how America uses this as an important military base to defend America against Russia and Russian threats and Cold War and all those references. But President Putin's references were very different. He gave references of America-Russia cooperation, the manner in which they fought common enemies during the Second World War. So what I'm trying to get at is that it didn't seem that President Putin was addressing a mediator of a Russia-Ukraine conflict. He was, in fact, directly addressing the American president. He appeared very consumed at really working on the direct relationship between Russia and the United States. And that could have implications going forward. Now that President Donald Trump has said that a three-way peace deal is the only way forward, three-way negotiation is the only way forward, with EU and Ukraine also participating fully, that really in many ways puts the ball where it was, because ahead of the meeting, EU has pressed for unconditional, immediate ceasefire for any kind of negotiations to begin. But that has not happened.
Definitely, it's not happening right now, and it's more of a meet regarding strengthening the ties between both the countries. I'll come back to you, Shubhendu, but we also have Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya with us. Sir, as all eyes were on this crucial summit, I also asked this to Shubhendu as well. It was very much expected that a solution would come out as far as Ukraine conflict is concerned. At least a ceasefire, but no result and no deal. Trump labeled the talks as productive. but it was more of a strengthening relations meet that took place. How do you analyze this entire situation?
Thank you. I think this was a very significant meeting, firstly, and I think it's an important initiative towards peace, and we should welcome it, as I believe the government already has. I think there are three things that stand out for me from this particular meeting. The first is that the presidents of the United States and Russia have actually met. I would presume that their agenda was much wider than Ukraine, and I think the possibilities of having a settlement on Ukraine was actually pretty low at this particular stage. I think Trump had said maybe about 25%. So I think that was not the central issue, although it was a very important issue. I would expect they would have discussed many issues of bilateral strategic interest for the two sides, Russia and the United States. And I think that would have been the key focus of a lot of the discussions. Of course, Ukraine was very big. And I think given the situation over there, it is catching the media spotlight very much. The second thing that I think is very important is the messaging that comes out from Putin very directly, and I think from Trump as well in a subsequent interview to, I think, Fox News. He made that more explicit. And I think what he's saying is that while he can be a mediator, a go-between, call it what you will, but the deal will eventually have to be between Ukraine and Russia. And that, as you can understand, has its own complications because the Europeans are very much in the picture. And I think both the Americans and the Russians did not wish to have the Europeans over here at this point of time. So I think the emerging dynamics of how this pursuing peace initiative will follow, and that's how they described this particular meeting, will be very interesting because Zelenskyy is supposed to come into DC on Monday. We've already had the Trump presidency speaking to NATO leaders. So, and Putin has also extended an invitation to Trump to visit Moscow for the next round of summit-level discussions. The third point, which I think is also important and perhaps also somewhat relevant from our perspective, is that one of the things that has come out of this particular meeting is that after the NATO summit, you did see that Trump had a slightly different posture towards Putin. He was somewhat aggressive as well on some of these occasions. And of course, the secondary tariff issue had come up. But after this meeting, we do see some softening on that. And we will have to see whether the secondary tariffs are actually rolled back. So that's something that also has relevance for us.
Okay, what would you attribute to for this soft behavior of Donald Trump?
Well, the issue is actually fairly complicated. You know, the issue of linking Russia into secondary tariffs. And I think it is unfair, to say the least. And if that were indeed the case, there should be secondary tariffs on EU partners, because EU, as you know, are the largest importers of Russian energy. So why not on them? So if you have a deal which is 15% on EU, why not have secondary tariffs on them as well? And I think that's not what the idea was. I think the idea was to have a certain understanding regarding the economic regime and a trade balance, which of course is has gone into another orbit. But we leave that aside. But I think the discussion with Putin would have convinced Trump, apart from everything else that he would have learned in the interim.
Definitely. Well, India has also welcomed the summit, the meeting, and India's stance has always been the same, that nothing can be achieved on the battlefield, and it's only dialogue and diplomacy through which any outcome could be possible. We were just talking about, sir, Zelensky's visit to Washington on Monday. Any positive outcome of this situation, would not have only benefit, and I'm talking about the meeting, in terms of stabilizing the situation, but the entire geopolitical scenario to an extent. Now, with Zelenskyy going to Oval Office on Monday for talks with President Trump, can we expect something positive from here? Although Trump has already said that there is no deal until there is a deal. Is he hinting at territorial concessions here? What would the deal be otherwise?
So I think on Zelensky's side, he wants two things. One is he wants certain kind of security guarantees he expects from the United States and Europe. And the second is he wants a deeper integration into Europe. Of course, there is something that no sovereign leader can give away, which is part of his territory. But at the end of the day, I think there are ground realities that he will have to deal with on that particular aspect. As far as security guarantees are concerned, I think he will get certain assurances which have been kind of on the table ever since the NATO summit 2 months ago. As regards the integration into Europe, I think that's something that will probably work out in Ukraine's favor at the end of the day if Ukraine were to join the EU in some format, but not join the NATO. Something that could be a via media that the Russians might be willing to consider. Let us not forget, the Russians actually have the trumps on this particular card.
Definitely. Trump also said that if meeting works out, one with Putin could come next. No one wants to see the White House fiasco, really.
You know, I think that is unlikely to happen if somebody of the stature of Putin is there. The dynamics of a Putin presence in any meeting will be very different. That doesn't normally happen in diplomatic interaction.
We hope so, sir.
But I think the possibility of a three-way meeting would give certain assurances to the Ukrainians. I'm not quite sure as to how the Russians would feel about it. But this is something that is further down the road because that meeting of the three leaders will happen only when all issues have been ironed out. There are, of course, the possibility that the officials and other negotiators and other interlocutors can come in and be helpful in that process. But that summit meeting of the three leaders, if it were to be, will be the last stage.
Okay. Okay, all right. We also have DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh joining us, who's also closely tracking this story. Shubhendu, Zelenskyy going to Washington on Monday. Trump says if meeting works out, the one with Putin, could come next. What can we expect here? What is the future of this particular scenario, which is there in front of us right now? What is your assessment of this?
Right, Siddharth, as Ambassador Bhattacharya mentioned that it is a positive step forward if all the parties to the conflict sit across the table and discuss what could be done. So far, for this summit, for instance, the concerns were that the parties to the conflict are not present, and therefore what kind of an end to the conflict could we be looking at? But yet, though those problems remain, fundamentally, each of the sides have put forth certain maximalist positions. This war, remember, is in its fourth year. If you look at the list of demands that Russia had to sort of put an end to the conflict, which about territorial sovereignty, which was unacceptable to Ukraine. Now, Ukraine's own ambitions of becoming part of the NATO, which Russia says was at the heart of the beginning of this conflict. So there would be a need for both sides to climb down from their long list of expectations, the outcome of the conflict. Each leader would, of course, want, after such a long, drawn-out battle, they get the best deal. But that negotiation has to happen really across the table when all the parties sit together. I think what is happening here, and I just want to point that out, is that there was a reference to the previous administration that President Putin did when he says that the relations between US and Russia had touched the rock bottom. Also the time when US wasn't acting as a mediator to this conflict. In fact, it was party in the sense like the rest of its transatlantic allies, the NATO allies. It was putting in all its resources to help Ukraine fight off Russia. But we've seen that shift happening with Donald Trump's administration, where he's time and again questioned US's investment, although those investments continue. There's also references to security guarantees which America would provide. But in terms of perception, the manner in which the new administration engages with President Putin, that is very different from the previous administration. And which side does United States, the Trump administration, swing in this negotiation between Russia and Ukraine? That side is going to will have a particular advantage. It's difficult to, I think, predict as of now the manner in which he sometimes is threatening President Putin Sometimes he's threatening Zelensky in person, President Putin, over his messages. And another point that I just want to mention is that while there were these tariffs, secondary tariffs that were imposed on India, other countries for dealing with Russia, here we see President Putin also bringing with him a business delegation, referring to cooperation in digital technology, space, and Arctic region. So here we're talking about the possibility of boosting the ties, resetting the ties between Russia and US, and that has wide implications for its allies in NATO, in Europe, as well as Ukraine, as to what are the larger objectives of United States vis-a-vis Russia.
Definitely. We have to wait and see, certainly, that what's going to happen when Zelensky will meet President Trump at the Oval Office. But thank you so much as of now, Shubhendu Ghosh and Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya. Thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast. It was wonderful having conversation with you both. And thank you so much, Shubhendu, again, and Ambassador. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with his South Korean counterpart Cho Hyun in New Delhi on Saturday. Discussions focused on advancing bilateral cooperation in trade, manufacturing, maritime and people-to-people exchanges, as well as new opportunities in AI, semiconductors, clean energy and defense. The leaders also exchanged perspectives on Indo-Pacific and contemporary global developments, and appreciated deepening convergences and growing engagement as India-South Korea Special Strategic Partnership completes 10 years. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri will be on an official visit to Nepal from 17th of August 2025 at the invitation of Nepal's Foreign Secretary Amrit Bahadur Rai. The visit is happening before expected visit of Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to India in September. This secretary-level meeting is expected to discuss issues to enhance areas of cooperation in border security, air flights, power sector and others. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will be visiting India on 18th and 19th of August. The visit is happening at the invitation of India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Wang Yi will hold the 24th round of the Special Representatives talks on India-China boundary question with India's SR NSA Doval. Further, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will also hold a bilateral meeting with Wang Yi. Weather updates now. Heavy clouds of smoke covered roads, towns and landscapes in Spain's northern region as the country battled 14 major fires driven by high winds and aggravated by heat. In a village in northwestern Spain, residents braced for impact as flames approached. Locals collected nearly 2,000 litres of water in buckets, preparing to defend their homes. Wildfires have burned more than 157,000 hectares in Spain so far this year, almost double the annual average. And residents of Prova village in Portugal tried stopping wildfires entering their homes as thousands of firefighters are battling large blazes in central and northern parts of the country. Portugal has activated the EU mechanism for assistance and requested 4 Canadian planes. Authorities continue to monitor the situation closely as scorching temperatures and dry winds fuel the spread of the fires. Hurricane Erin has intensified into a Category 2 hurricane as it is passing north of the eastern Caribbean islands of Puerto Rico. Erin is about 400 kilometers east-northeast of Anguilla, in fact, moving with maximum speed of 160 kilometers per hour. National Hurricane Center has predicted heavy rainfall through Sunday across the northern Leeward Islands. The Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico may lead to flash flooding, landslides or mudslides. Tropical storm conditions are possible for northern Leeward Islands. While the threat of direct impacts in the Bahamas and along the east coast of the United States appears to be gradually decreasing, there will still be a significant risk of dangerous surf and rip currents along western Atlantic beaches next week. While the high temperatures and dry conditions are fueling numerous wildfires across southern Europe, Nigeria in West Africa is facing severe floods. Torrential rains sparked intense floods and damaged hundreds of homes in the northeast Nigeria town of Potiskum. Weather authorities in the West African nation had warned just last week that parts of 21 of country's 36 states were under a flood warning due to seasonal rains. More than 200 houses were damaged, while a local civil servant estimated 500 houses were severely hit following the overnight rains. Heavy rains generally sweep through Nigeria between June and November, often triggering dangerous floods where poor infrastructure and inadequate drainage often worsen the impact across Africa's most populous country. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, over 300 people were killed in torrential rains in northwest region. Cloud bursts, flash floods, lightning strikes and building collapses amid heavy rain caused fatalities in the hills and mountains of Khyber. Worst hit was the Bunar area, where floods and heavy rain caused 100 deaths. Hundreds of others have been killed in recent weeks as Pakistan experienced more rain than usual during the current monsoon season, washing away roads and buildings. The rescue operation has been intensified in Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar district to retrieve the bodies from the debris. Death toll in the tragic incident have risen to 60, with an unspecified number of people still trapped. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah visits incident spot and met victims of flash flood. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Abdullah and Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha on Friday and assured them of all help. Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Minister Umar Abdullah is currently visiting the disaster-stricken Chosti village in Kishtwar district. His visit aims to assess the extensive damage caused by a devastating cloudburst. The J&K CM will review the ongoing rescue operations and evaluate additional support needed to aid the affected community. All right, and DD India's Shabir Dar is joining us live from Kishtwar. Shabir, first of all, to begin with, what is the situation there right now?
Yeah, the situation seems to be under control as the administration is fully geared now to deal with the situation. We know that this devastating flood, triggered by the cloudburst, has wreaked havoc in this village that is the base camp of the pilgrimage for Mata and these hills. So on Friday afternoon, this crowd was struck when people had gathered for Langar, and there was huge rush of devotees and locals, both the pilgrims and the people who are the service providers. And in a matter of seconds, the entire village was washed away, like 26 houses, 3 temples, 4 water mills, and dozens of vehicles and tents were washed away, and with around 300 people. So most of them have been rescued. Like 160 people who are injured were rescued, have been shipped to hospitals. And the Chief Secretary of Jammu and Kashmir, who also visited today, along with after the Chief Minister, said that 56 people were killed in this incident, and 160 people are admitted in hospitals. Similarly, around 70 people are buried in the debris, and every effort is being made to retrieve these bodies from the debris, because now it is sure
Shabir,
that
can you give us some updates on the rescue operations?
It might not be. Yeah, the rescue operation is going on full swing. The NDRF, SDRF, Army, civil volunteers are doing the job round the clock. I have seen heavy machinery deployed there with the JCBs, the sand plows, and control these stone crushers are there. Okay. So every machinery is being deployed along with the volunteers and SDRF, NDRF, and the rescue teams. And Chief Minister himself visited this spot today and reviewed the rescue operation.
Shabir, we heard that locals are also assisting in the rescue operation.
Yeah, there are a lot of volunteers, be it locals, and they have come all the way from the neighboring villages also, and even from Jammu. The people have come there, and they are voluntarily aiding the rescue operation of the government, and they are proved to be a big help, because they know, because some of them are locals who actually have the knowledge of the topography of the village, of the area. They are actually, proved to be a great help for the administration to retrieve some bodies from the debris. Because when I was there, I saw 4 bodies which were retrieved from the debris in the village near that river.
Shabir,
obviously, the rescue operation is going.
Okay, Shabir,
the rescue operation is going on. The chief minister also announced ex gratia.
Okay, I was asking Shabir that how are the victims managing their day-to-day activities? Are they getting the essentials like water and food?
Yeah, the administration is taking care of that right now, because a lot and some volunteers have installed langars also there.
Okay.
So the water, the food, and other essentials are being taken care of by both the administration and by the langar management committees. So that thing is taken care of. But the biggest challenge, as I said, is the rescue operation, because as many as 70 bodies, 70 people are still missing. And that is a big challenge for the administration, given the fact that there's that Tasor village, there is an intermittent rains also in the morning, so which hampers. Such challenges are there. One is the accessibility to that village, because that is a narrow road leading to that village that actually cuts through the mountains, and that the accessibility and the debris, the huge accumulation of debris in the village where bodies are buried, is retrieving these bodies is a challenge for the rescuers.
Okay, you were just telling it rained in the morning. Any prediction from weather department, Shabir? Any information on that?
No, there's no predictions. It was sunny. It was sunny in the day, and that is it is expected that it will be sunny for a couple of days. That is a good sign. That is a good news rather for the rescuers, because that will help them carry the rescue operations uninterrupted. So that is actually what is needed right now, because the rescue should go uninterrupted. That way is only the bodies of the those who are missing can be retrieved, because a lot of the family members of those victims are there. They are demanding from the administration that their family members who are missing, their bodies should be retrieved and given to them as early as possible. And this is putting emotional pressure on the government, because on one hand they are making no stone unturned to ensure that the rescue operation in that place, in that fora, because that is the remotest village in the Kishtwar district, some 90 kilometers from Kishtwar district, and all hilly and treacherous terrain leads to that village, and it definitely is posing a challenge for the administration to take the machines
Shabir,
to that village.
is Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister still there?
Rescue. No, he has left the spot. He met the victim families. He, reviewed the rescue operation, and he announced the ex gratia relief for those who are dead and injured. 2 lakh for those who are killed, and 1 lakh for seriously injured, and 50,000 for minor injuries. In addition to that, he announced 1 lakh for compensation to the damaged structure, be it the houses, temples, or the water mills.
Okay. Did you happen to talk to any of the victims?
So every effort is being made to. Yeah, I spoke to the victims, because one victim whose brother was washed away is still missing. He told me how he saw this scene unfolding. In a matter of seconds, they entered village. He was washed away before his eyes. Somehow he managed to rescue himself to the safer location. But he told me that they have never seen such devastation happening in that area, and this happening there at the time when the Machel Yatra was going on, because Machel Mata Yatra that temple is some 8 kilometers uphill trek from that village. That village acts as a base camp for Machel Mata Yatra, and it was going in full swing, because the Yatra this is the annual Yatra which was going to conclude on September 5, and these days there was huge rush of people from across the Jammu and Kashmir and from across the country who had turned out turned out there for the pilgrimage. And Friday afternoon, that was the last time between 12:30 to 1 p.m. that flash flood occurred, and a lot of people were there, in the langar having lunch when that devastation happened, and
Okay, Shabbir, we'll keep taking updates from you on this, but as of now, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Mumbai is witnessing intense rainfall on Saturday, prompting the India Meteorological Department to issue a red alert for the city. Several areas have reported waterlogging and reduced visibility, causing disruptions to daily life and traffic. Authorities have urged residents to avoid non-essential travel and exercise caution while stepping out. In a vibrant tapestry of devotion, Krishna Janmashtami is being celebrated in India and the world. Celebrating Lord Krishna's birth, blending timeless wisdom with joyous traditions, the festival unites all. No more in this report by DD India's Antara Sinha.
The joyous celebration of Janmashtami marks the divine birth of Lord Shri Krishna. He is the embodiment of love, karma and dharma, even relevant in the modern world today. Let's dive into some of his great teachings in the Bhagavad Gita. Just like Karmanya Vadikaraste, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. That means do your duty without the attachment to results. Let's dive in. Lord Krishna, the eighth incarnation of Lord Vishnu, shines as a divine beacon in Hinduism, embodying grace and wisdom. Celebrated on the 8th day of the dark fortnight in the sacred month of Bhadrapada, the Krishna Janmashtami radiates with fervor across India and within Hindu communities worldwide. This radiant festival honors Lord Krishna's miraculous birth in a prison cell, symbolizes hope and the triumph of good over evil. From slaying demons like Kansa to guiding the Pandavas in Mahabharata, Lord Krishna's life upholds dharma. Janmashtami weaves a vibrant tapestry of devotion with fasting until midnight, the sacred hour of Krishna's birth, accompanied by soulful bhajans and the enchanting Ras Leela, reenacting his playful youth. Homes and temples glow with diyas adorned with flowers and cradles for baby Krishna. In Maharashtra, Dahi Handi unites communities as youth form human pyramids to break buttermilk pots. Gujarat and Rajasthan resonate with Garba dances, Ras, and Krishna processions, while South India's Mosaru Kudike celebrates his mischievous antics. Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, delivered to Arjuna on the Kurukshetra battlefield, offer timeless wisdom for today's world. His concept of karma yoga, acting selflessly without attachment to results, helping us manage modern pressures, Dhyan yoga or meditation promotes mindfulness, offering clarity in a distracted, fast-paced world. Lord Krishna's call for equanimity that refers to staying balanced amid joy or sorrow. These universal principles by Lord Krishna transcend cultural boundaries, providing practical tools for purposeful living, mental peace, and harmonious coexistence in today's interconnected society. As we celebrate Krishna Janmashtami, let's embrace Lord Krishna's teachings of love, peace, harmony to inspire this modern world. With camera person Mahesh Sharma, this is Antara Sinha for DD India.
President Draupadi Murmu extended her heartfelt greetings on Janmashtami. Taking to X, President Murmu said, and I quote, "Heartfelt greetings on Janmashtami. Lord Shri Krishna has shown the entire humanity the path of following duties according to righteousness while remaining dedicated to the welfare of all beings. On the auspicious occasion of Janmashtami, let everyone resolve to follow the path shown by Lord Shri Krishna and strengthen society and the nation." Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his wishes to all countrymen on the occasion of Janmashtami. PM Modi took to X and he said, and I quote, "Heartfelt Janmashtami greetings to all countrymen. May this sacred festival of faith, joy and enthusiasm infuse new energy and zeal into your lives. Jai Shri Krishna." Union Home Minister Amit Shah also took to social media X and said, and I quote, "The joy of Nand has arisen. Hail to Kanhaiyalal." Heartfelt greetings to all on Sri Krishna Janmashtami. The life of Lord Sri Krishna, a symbol of righteousness, ethics and public welfare, inspires every Indian to walk the path of truth and duty. All right, and DD India's Yogesh Sheetal is joining us live from Mumbai. Hi Yogesh, it seems like it's raining like anything there where you are right now, but also, there's a very fact that it cannot dampen the Janmashtami celebrations. I can see a lot of people behind you. How are the Janmashtami celebrations going on? What is there at the ground where you are right now?
Hi Siddharth, happy Janmashtami. You're right, it's raining this time, and also the Meteorological Department has already predicted a red alert, issued a red alert for Mumbai, Raigad and Thane districts. Mumbai and Thane, these are two districts which are basically considered as a hub for the IND. I would like to request my cameraman to just show you the live visuals, the electrifying mandals. You can see how they are, they are just trying, they are creating human pyramids, and the way the festival is celebrated. We know that couple of years back, Maharashtra also announced that now the Dahi Handi would be given the status of sports in Maharashtra. And apart from that, several initiatives were taken to ensure the safety and security of mandals, like the insurance amount was also announced, and the Mumbai police as well as the other district police have stationed at different key locations to ensure there is no hustle bustle, there is no any sort of damage or any untoward incidents. So at this point in time, I'm in Worli, which is one of the prime locations when the IND is concerned, and the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, has also visited the Parivartan Dayandi. Basically, this is the theme of this Dayandi. You can see also there are different mandals from different views. However, there are guidelines also issued from the different courts, from the Bombay High Court as well as from the Supreme Court also, regarding the safety, regarding the steps that have been taken, like helmets, like gears that are mandatory, that have been made mandatory for the mandals who are taking place. Very interesting part is the awards, basically the competitions that have been organized, that are basically organized on Dahi Handi. The prize money is basically between 1 lakh to 10 lakh. Because Dahi Handi is also here in Maharashtra, a particular platform where politicians exhibit their strength. So different political parties across the state celebrate and sponsor the events, including the businessmen also. So this is interesting at this point in time. Despite having a red alert in Mumbai, you can see there is no disturbance, there is no disruption when the festival is concerned. You can see the kids are also enjoying the waterlogged area. So this is completely you can see the actual excitement of Dahi Handi in Mumbai and Maharashtra at this point in time.
Yogesh, are you witnessing something different this time around on Janmashtami?
See, all the years, because basically Janmashtami is celebrated in monsoon, particularly when it comes to the season. So, as far as difference is concerned, what I can add, that each passing year we see it goes add on some new creativity, some new things are added. Like couple of months, even couple of weeks back, the announcement was made about the insurance, as well as the insurance for the injured, and also in case if there is a fatality, the insurance are also there. Apart from that, the new champs, the new new technological thing, like we see the various mandals they have organized for those who cannot visit here, like Divyang people. So they have organized in a unique way. So time to time it goes, it gives a different flavor, it gives a different sense, it gives a different practicalities also. So yes, this year also we can see, despite having a rush, the excitement is more. What I can tell you, if you compare from the last year or from the recent year, what I can tell you, the excitement is in fact added to this year also. So it goes on, and that is the unique thing we can tell you in basically in Dahi Handi, because also the BMC election is around the corner. So as I told you, that this is basically a political platform also. The different political parties, the business fraternities, they just make their appearance. Some celebrity also, from actresses, they also made appearance. They perform their shows also. So elections are also around the corner, and also the festivity has started, because very soon we are going to witness Ganpati Bappa also in Mumbai.
Definitely, with each passing year, the excitement is just building. Yogesh, are you also thinking of participating in the Dahi Handi competition? How are you celebrating Janmashtami? Very quickly.
See, Siddharth, I have already celebrated with my kids and with my wife at my house, but obviously my wife will not allow me to go in this Dahi Handi because my age have already passed now. The bachelor life is different. So yes, people like me are also celebrating, but the celebration is different from the way we are witnessing here.
Okay. Happy Janmashtami to you, Yogesh. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there. The Hindu community across Bangladesh is celebrating Janmashtami with religious fervor, marking the birth of Lord Sri Krishna, one of the most revered deities in Hinduism. Devotees in various parts of Bangladesh, including capital Dhaka, took out colorful processions, chanted devotional hymns and participated in prayers to commemorate the auspicious day. On this occasion, President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Chief Advisor of the interim government, Professor Muhammad Yunus, extended greetings to the Hindu community, wishing peace and prosperity to all. India remembers former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his death anniversary today. President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the nation in paying tributes to former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his death anniversary at the iconic Sadaiv Atal Memorial in the national capital. Speaker of the lower house of Indian Parliament or Lok Sabha, Om Birla, union ministers including Rajnath Singh, JP Nadda and Kiren Rijiju and the prominent people from all walks of life paid floral tributes to the former Prime Minister Atalji. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was one of the prominent political leaders of the country and founding member of Bharatiya Janata Party. Atalji served as the Prime Minister 3 times, briefly in 1996 and then for 2 terms between 1998 and 2004. In 2014, the Government of India declared Vajpayee's birthday, December 25, as the Good Governance Day. In 2015, he received the highest civilian honour, Bharat Ratna, from the then President of India, Pranab Mukherjee. Atalji passed away on this day in 2018 in New Delhi after a prolonged illness. You're watching DN NewsHour. Time now for sport. And India's ace cubist Pankaj Advani said that Prime Minister Modi's Independence Day address was deeply inspirational for the athletes and the nation alike. In an exclusive conversation with DD India's Narayan Singh, Advani said that initiatives such as Khelo India are playing a pivotal role in driving the country's sporting success.
Joining me today, the Prince of Pune, Pankaj Advani, who is the, we can say, the king of the Indian billiards and snooker. Pankaj, a very warm welcome. Today you attended the PM Modi's Independence Day speech. So what were the key takeaways from that you find and how it was inspiring for the youth of the country?
Firstly, I'd like to say that it's a huge honor to be invited to witness the entire ceremony at the Red Fort, Lal Killa, and to hear our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji's speech. It was very insightful, very passionate, and it covered a variety of topics. And as a sports person, I'm proud to be feeling, I'm proud to say that I'm an Indian who represents the country with pride, and thanks to our leadership in our country, under the dynamic leadership of Modi ji, we are definitely moving in the right direction.
Pankaj, talking about the way things are happening in the Indian sports arena, and recently we saw that the sports bill was passed in both the houses of the Parliament, and also there is the bid for the 2030 Commonwealth Games has been approved by the IOA, and India is also planning to host the 2036 Olympics. So how you look all these development in the Indian sports, the way we are just trying to match the best in the world of sports?
As a sports person, it's very heartening to see the government take all these initiatives, whether it's bidding for the Commonwealth Games. The Olympics is still a long way off, 2036, but at least it has that in its sights. We talk about the Special Olympic Bharat athletes, the SOB athletes. They were there to witness the ceremony today, and so many hundreds of other athletes were called. We talk about several reforms in the sports department, the sports bill, making the national sports federations more streamlined, the entire ecosystem and the entire structure of sport more streamlined.
How you look the role of the PM Modi just revolutionizing the Indian sports arena?
It's amazing. I mean, if you look at the Khelo India initiative, It's basically tapping into all the rural areas, all the untouched areas in our country, because there is no dearth of talent in India. Let's face it, we've got a huge population and we've got so many youngsters, people who are in the younger, on the younger side, we call them youth. And there's so much of skill and talent, but unfortunately they've not been given the opportunity. But now with Khelo India and some other good initiatives, from the government, they get the chance and access to those facilities to train, to compete, to get recognized and eventually become big stars in the future.
So hoping that the speech given by the PM Modi from the ramparts of the Red Fort definitely will bring, we can say that, more enthusiasm inside of athletes, and they will win more medals for the country. With camera person Piyush, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
That's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.